Welcome back everyone to Barbecue Elevated. Today I'm going to show you what to do if your logs get wet or covered in snow so that you can dry them out quickly and be able to prepare them and use them again. So before I get into the video and kind of show you guys what I did, just wanted to give you a little bit of a backstory of this. So the other day I was actually recording a prime rib that I decided I wanted to not only smoke on my Franklin pit, but I also wanted to show how it could be seared on the Franklin pit as well. In the process of doing that, it's kind of it was still a cold day. It was in the 20s, but it wasn't as cold. It was warm enough for me to be able to be outside with my gloves on and a hat on. And so what I do every time I need wood is I have a supplier that I order it from. I order it a third quarter at a time so that I can get it for cheaper and just get good naturally seasoned oak wood that I'm able to find in my area. Because of that, a lot of times the wood gets delivered and I have to kind of set it aside because I do have to chop it up myself and split it myself because the wood that I get's mainly meant for restaurants. They use significantly bigger smokers than I do and much larger fireboxes. So I have to kind of set it aside and then I have to chop it up and split it, and then the wood split holder that I have that I put all my logs on only holds about 1/5 of a cord, maybe a little bit more than 1/5 at a time. So I'm not able to put all of my wood underneath there all at once. I normally get it during the summertime, and it doesn't, where I'm at in Utah, it's dry weather. It doesn't really rain very much in Utah, and it gets hot. It's definitely a desert climate during that time, so I don't usually have an issue. If there is a little bit of rain, like it rains and it evaporates very quickly, so I don't ever worry about covering up those logs before they're split. But this last year, I ordered a third quart of wood towards the end of summer. Thought I'd have enough time to kind of burn through my covered stack and get those chopped up and split and covered. And I was able to get them chopped. I didn't get them all split, but I ran out of space to be able to cover them, and the snow came much sooner than I thought that it was going to. Anyways, I ended up with a pile of wood, a pile of logs that were just covered in snow that were very wet. They were not usable, and I needed to get it so that they were usable because I want to try to get through spring without having to buy any bundles of wood or any bags of wood. They can be more expensive. I want to just make it to spring where I can get another third quart of wood and make it much easier for myself and much more cost affordable for myself to be able to continue making these videos, continue to do what I love, which is making really good barbecue. So, long story short, yesterday, or not yesterday, but the other day when I was making a prime rib, and I was actually recording the video for that, which that'll come out at some point. It's going to take longer for me to edit that. I actually did dual cameras for that one. That one's taking a lot longer for me to figure out how to get it together. But in that process, I also decided I was going to try to dry out these logs that are covered in snow and get them so that I could use them. And so I actually decided to record that also. And I'm going to include that in my prime rib video. But I also felt like it could be good since that portion of the video I can edit quickly and I can get it out there to help people that are dealing with wet wood right now during the winter months. To help you guys learn how to dry that wood out so that you can use it. I actually dried out that wood and used it the same day. I actually used it the same day to build up a really big hot fire in my firebox to be able to sear the prime rib that I seared. So just wanted to show you guys, what I did, what I found, and what I was able to do. I've never done this before. So I thought it was really cool that it worked. I don't normally ever dry out wood like this, and I don't ever preheat logs either, And of course it's important to walk that fine line of drying out the wood, leaving a little bit of moisture in the wood also so that it can still produce that good smoky flavor. You don't want to completely dry out all the water to the point that it can't produce any good smoke or any good flavor. So definitely have to walk that fine line. But anyways, here's the clips of what I did. Hopefully you enjoyed. Hopefully you find it helpful. It was never intended to be its own video, so please keep that in mind. But I decided just to make it its own so that you guys could see, some of the things that I did that maybe you can apply, even if it's not snowing and cold, even if they just got wet. of what you can do to dry them out. So many of you know, that my wood that I use is not kiln dried. It's naturally seasoned. I get it from someone here local. Because I get it from somebody local, I typically buy it in bulk. I usually get at least a third cord at a time, and then I just kind of have to chop it up and split it myself. These people sell mostly to restaurants that use bigger, more large, much bigger cookers than what I use. So there, the wood is really meant for them. So I usually have to get out my saw, chop it up, and then split it also. And then I have a holder, just a rack that I put the wood on, that I keep it covered so I can keep it dry. The problem with my holder is that the one I have now is it doesn't hold quite a third cord. So I usually end up having to kind of stack it on the side in the summertime and keep it from getting wet. That way, in the summertime. This last order of wood that I got was in the late summer, and I didn't quite use up my covered wood fast enough before the snow came. The snow came earlier this year, so I ended up having a small stack of wood that got snow on it, and it's just kind of been sitting, and I've been waiting for a day like today where it's a little bit drier, that I can, with a break in the weather, that I can start to dry it out. You can see in the background back there I got some wood around my fire pit that I'm using to dry it out. So I just want to kind of show you guys, what I've come up with to dry out wood, get it so that it can be used soon. So I'm just going to kind of show you guys what I've got going on right now. So right here I've got just some logs that I'm drying out on top of my firebox while I'm just got it going. Figured I'd put some on here. This is something that I don't normally do. I typically never will preheat logs. I just never found that I've really ever needed to. Normally I keep them down here, and down there they get plenty of heat from the firebox to light very quickly. But up here I'm just trying to dry some logs out. You want to be really careful when you put logs up here. Watch for when they stop steaming, so that you can know when they're dry and pull them off, because they will catch fire up here, believe it or not, if you leave them up here long enough, and you will have a bunch of logs going full blaze on top of your firebox, which none of us want. So watch for that. And then over here, here's the rest of my logs that I split this morning, and they're just kind of sitting around a fire. I got the controlled fire in the middle. I don't feel like I have a bonfire going, but it's a pretty good sized fire going, and all the logs around drying out. You can see right there some of the steam coming off of them right now from the logs drying out. So just kind of like with the firebox, really want to watch over here. Want to make sure that none of these catch fire. Watch them once they do start to dry out. I'm going to just go ahead and stack them. Over here, this is what I use to store my wood that I was kind of talking about. So they're all just stacked in here. These logs have been in here for quite a long time, and they're all dry and ready to go anytime I need them. But I'll probably just stack my logs over here on this side for these ones that I'm drying now. That way I can know which ones not to use the next few times, but get them under here, get them covered, and keep them from getting wet again is really the goal. So really just wanted to kind of show you guys what I'm doing right now, a little side project that I'm doing while I'm making this prime rib this morning. There's my log splitter that I use, just an electric one. I used to just use just a normal mauler and a wedge, and sometimes a hatchet and a hammer, but ever since I started buying in bulk and having to really just split all of these logs by hand and chop them all myself, I've invested in an electric log splitter to make my life easier. It's really helped out a lot, saved my back a ton. So something I recommend for anybody in my position that needs to split a lot of wood, get a log splitter. It'll save your life. Update on my wood project, side project. Here's some more logs that are on here just drying out. Pile over here has diminished significantly. I'm really happy with how the logs have been drying out. I'm trying just to get the outsides dried out. Don't want to totally dry them out to where there's no moisture at all. of course, but definitely want to get them dry so they can light. I really feel like that I'll be able to use these on a future cook. You know, I may have to pre-warm them on top of the Firebox like these ones are, but I feel like that I'll be able to use them sooner than later, which will make it so I don't have to go out and buy any bags of wood or any bundles of wood. You know, this will get me through till spring, so that I can get me through till spring until I can get my next large order of wood in. So we'll check back soon, show you how it's looking when it gets closer to being done. Alright, so I've decided I'm going to show you guys how to get this Firebox, get the fire in the Firebox built so that we can sear the prime rib. Not rocket science, not hard. Probably most people can figure it out, but I decided to just show you anyways. Nonetheless, just so that everybody understands what we're doing and how to really do this. And one thing I wanted to point out, Franklin door still opens and closes. Been running this thing for 6-7 hours now. Door's just fine. Again, have no idea why some people complain that their doors don't work. My door has always worked just fine. Worked perfectly. Had no issues with it. Had no issues with the handle opening and closing. Works great. So if you saw my review video I did recently, where I addressed this, still works. So anyways, gonna go ahead and open this up. For me, I'm going to use fire gloves. My barbecue gloves, sorry, just because I really want to make sure I don't get burned, especially if these logs ignite quickly and get going. I also showed earlier how I did some, was drying a bunch of wood and drying it out. I'm actually going to use some of those logs for this also. But anyways, I'll go ahead and just kind of get the coal bed spread out, make sure there's just kind of a nice little valley in here. Really want to make it easy, as easy as possible. So adjust this a little bit. Hopefully you guys can see okay. There we go. So gonna take some bigger pieces to create our base with. Put bigger pieces right on the bottom. These are those pieces that I have not, that I was seasoning earlier today. Figured they'd be great base pieces. Really want to have just a base built up to keep it, as your foundation for this fire. I'm really going to just build big bonfire essentially. It's probably going to put it out a little bit, which it did, but in any case, it doesn't really matter. It's gonna relight. Gonna just stack it just like this. Get it all in there nice. Just really going to put as much wood in here as we possibly can. Give it a little blow. I can see that it's already starting to catch back there. You know, with this, we want to get the smoker up to at least 500 degrees Fahrenheit at a minimum. We're going to get this really hot. You know, if you have a temp gauge that isn't super great or heavy duty or reliable, please feel free once you hit that 500 degrees just to take it out and leave it out and just keep your fire in here going nice and hot. For me, I already know I've had mine way past 500 degrees, way past it. I mean, it almost hit a full circle when I was seasoned this thing the first time. And my temperature gauge still works just fine. It's a tell true, but you know that's what Aaron Franklin puts in his pits for the Franklin pits. So really high end, really high quality temp gauge. Not worried about it, so I'm gonna leave mine in. But if you feel like you need to take yours out, if you're worried about it getting ruined, please take it out once you hit that 500 degrees. So I'm actually gonna go ahead and open up my cook chamber real quick, get some air flowing. And then just help it along. So hopefully you can see back in there, those logs have caught. Those are actually the bottom logs down there that I was drying out earlier today. So they're catching. Everything's coming up. So what we're going to do now is go ahead and close the cook chamber. The final step that you need to make sure you do, and you always do whenever you're trying to really get these really high temps built up like what I'm trying to do, is you want to shutter the door as much as possible. If yours doesn't, with mine, I can go ahead and close it all the way if I want to. It's going to keep going, going to keep burning. You can see the fire in there. Got these notches cut out from Franklin, and then of course the Franklin writing. This is just enough oxygen to keep the fire going inside of there. But if yours doesn't have those notches and it's just a solid door, just kind of crack it a little bit. Well, leave it open just enough to get air in there, but you definitely want to shutter it and close it as much as possible so that we push all of the heat up into the cook chamber. So anyways, going to go get the once this thing hits 500 degrees, going to put the primer on and get it seared.